Alright guys, today we're diving into
Majin Bird, we know you're in there.
You Can't Hide Forever. Oh no, it's 𝗕𝗥𝗔𝗟𝗟 and 𝗕𝗥𝗔𝗟𝗟. They found me. But wait, how? Of course, I wasn't using today's sponsor, Aura. These guys must have tracked my IP address faster than Goku instant transmissioning to a buffet. Remember, it's on us to protect ourselves, which is why I use Aura. Aura keeps you safe online by doing all the hard work for you. They identify data brokers selling your personal information and submit opt-out requests on your behalf. Give Aura a few weeks and you'll notice your data disappearing from these sites. Meaningless spam, fewer scams, and more privacy. But that's not all. Aura also monitors the dark web 24/7 and alerts you if your personal information gets exposed. If someone tries to use your data to access your credit or bank accounts, Aura lets you know fast. Plus, they even provide up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, just in case the worst happens.
Huh? Where did he go? He was right there.
This is impossible. His presence just vanished.
Wait, do we have the wrong house? That's it. We must have messed up. Curses.
See, even the most powerful dark sorcerers can't track me when I'm using Aura. If you want to stay safe online, make sure to grab Aura today. Click the link in the description below to receive a 14-day trial, and don't forget to check the pinned comment too. Trust me guys, if 𝗕𝗥𝗔𝗟𝗟 can't find me, neither can hackers. Super Saiyan God is what took Dragon Ball to the next level. This also greatly built upon Saiyan lore, which up to this point hadn't been spoken about since the legendary Super Saiyan. If you're curious about who's really the legendary Super Saiyan, then I recommend you check out this video here. In the same vein, I propose a similar question to you. Who is the first Super Saiyan God? I'm sure most of you feel like the answer is pretty concrete and never given it a second thought, though I don't think it's as straightforward as you may think depending on your interpretation and what story of Dragon Ball you read. The first time we're introduced to this concept is in the Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods movie. Beerus, the god of destruction, awakens prematurely after sleeping for 39 years. This was his doing, however. Prior to the slumber, he had a premonition that a Super Saiyan God would appear and turn out to be his greatest rival. In the movie, Beerus seemed quite happy about this, which I find pretty funny since it was his decision to have Frieza destroy Planet Vegeta. I'm sure he thought it to be pretty ironic that it would be a Saiyan who could rival him. Later on in this movie, Goku summons Shenron and tells the story of the first Super Saiyan God. It's a form that actually was created on accident when 6 righteous Saiyans rebelled against the evil that was corrupting their race. One way or another, 5 of them channeled their energy into one, who will become the first Super Saiyan God. His name was Yamoshi. With this new jump in power, he easily overwhelmed the evil Saiyans. As quick as the power came, however, it vanished, and as a result, him and his comrades were wiped out. So in this version of the story, Yamoshi is the first Super Saiyan God, attained with the ritual. It becomes evident later on in this movie that Super Saiyan God doesn't actually need a ritual to obtain it. We see Goku in a desperate moment of truth, tapping into the power once again without needing his friends. We learn in Dragon Ball Super that a Saiyan using God Ki in their base form is what allows you to ascend to godhood, aka the Super Saiyan God, without the ritual. So when Goku does transform again briefly in the movie, he was using God Ki, which makes sense since his body was adapting to the form over time. So depending on how you look at this version of the story, you could make an argument for Goku or Yamoshi, since Yamoshi was the first Saiyan to become a Super Saiyan God with a ritual and Goku was the first Saiyan without one. So boom, video done, right? Well, not exactly. Remember how I mentioned it depended on what version of the story we were talking about when discussing who was the first? Well, this may be the case in the Battle of Gods version, not the case in the other stories. Like Dragon Ball Super, for example. Things start off pretty similar with Beerus waking up from his premature nap, however it seems like his memory isn't as strong as it was in the movie. It actually takes him quite a while before he's able to recall the name Super Saiyan God. When he does, it was the destruction of a planet that painted the silhouette of his greatest rival. Although it's hard to tell in the picture who it resembles, it looks like Goku, sure, but we don't actually get the confirmation by Beerus that we do in the movie. When looking at the flashbacks of Goku fighting Frieza, he claims that he fought a Super Saiyan God that looked just like him. Though in Dragon Ball Super, it's not as clear cut to Beerus anyway. When the Dragon Balls are gathered this time around, Shenron tells a different tale. Yamoshi is still the hero of legend, but not the legendary Super Saiyan God. When the 6 righteous warriors were backed into a corner by the demonic Saiyans, it was Yamoshi who transformed into the Super Saiyan of legend. The story of the legendary Super Saiyan in Dragon Ball Z is actually Yamoshi. This was a great change made in the franchise by Toriyama himself, most likely to keep the consistency of his previous work. This story, however, continues. Outnumbered, Yamoshi eventually wore himself out and was defeated, but this was only the beginning of the legend. Afterwards, Yamoshi's spirit wandered in continuous search of 6 righteous Saiyans, seeking a new savior, the Super Saiyan God. This savior turned out to be Goku. After Goku performs the ritual in Dragon Ball Super, it's clear that it's different from its movie counterpart. Goku was able to heal himself from an injury that would have been fatal to most at the hands of Lord Beerus. In addition to this, it seems to grow in power as time goes on, as stated by Goku when he says the power of the Super Saiyan God tells him that he can still go even higher. This version of Super Saiyan God allows you to commune with the spirit of Yamoshi, making Goku the first person to actually achieve the Super Saiyan God transformation in this version of the story. What I find most interesting about this version is Vegeta's inclusion. As we know, Goku was the first to achieve the form in Dragon Ball Super, Super, but that's only the case in terms of the ritual. It's very possible that Vegeta was actually the first person to become a Super Saiyan God without needing a ritual. During the Resurrection F remake arc in Super, it's a shock to the Z Fighters that Vegeta too has learned to tap into the realm of the gods. Goku says he was able to do so without needing the ritual. He learned it on his own. Though we do see Goku and Vegeta learning God Ki from Whis, at the same time it's possible Vegeta unlocked it first. And there you have it. When putting both Battle of Gods and Dragon Ball Super side by side, we have Goku and Yamoshi in the Battle of Gods as candidates, and Goku and Vegeta for Dragon Ball Super. The way I see it, Goku is the most consistent in having the title in both stories. At one time or another, he was both the first Super Saiyan to achieve the God through the ritual as well as without it. In universe, I would say Goku is indeed the first Super Saiyan God. This is to say, in universe. Depending on how you define first, there may be another candidate. Before Dragon Ball Super, there was a different series that held the spotlight for Dragon Ball. This story was written to be what happened after the events of Z. This was Dragon Ball GT. Here, we see a much different approach with the story than what we see in Super. In GT, the path Goku takes is one that's more primal rather than divine. The transformation that opened the floodgates for all kind of crazy long hair forms, including Super Saiyan 100 and what have you, is none other than Super Saiyan 4. This is the form that was stated to draw out your full potential. Visually, it displayed a combination of both Super Saiyan and Ozaru, which is quite fitting. To attain this form, one must already be a Super Saiyan while having their tail. I find the lore behind Super Saiyan 4 to be quite good actually. In a sense, to achieve this form, you do need to seek out power beyond what's obtained at birth, while still holding on to what makes you a Saiyan in the first place. When both requirements are met, you'll become a Golden Ozaru. This is the first step in becoming a Super Saiyan 4. The next step is to gain control over this newfound strength through the power of love and compassion. This is evident in both times we see Goku and Vegeta unlock this form. For Goku, it was his love for Earth and the people on it that he wants to protect. For Vegeta, it was Goku himself being his longtime rival and friend. Baby Vegeta wasn't able to turn into a Super Saiyan 4 when he became a Golden Ozaru because he lacked this, only being filled with hate and vengeance. After obtaining this form, it's clear that it's head and shoulders above all the forms previously obtained in Dragon Ball Z. The power granted by a Super Saiyan 4 takes a Saiyan to the absolute limit of power, and most notably allow Goku to even magnify the Kamehameha 10 times its usual power. Super Saiyan 4 also seems to enable the user's power to increase over time, as seen in Goku's fight with Omega Shenron. This wasn't enough to beat him, however, and he had to opt for something stronger. It was in this moment that we would see the epitome of power in the franchise up to this point in the form of Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. If you're an OG fan, then you know that this guy was him for the longest time. And in his heyday, he was referred to as a god, and that might actually be correct. It wasn't until after the Battle of Gods movie came out that people started making the comparisons. There's no way Toei predicted the form before it came out, right? Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta isn't a Super Saiyan God, right? Or is he? Firstly, to become a Super Saiyan God, you need to either A, be able to use God Ki in your base form, or B, perform the legendary ritual. I think it's safe to rule out option A since Gogeta is clearly in Super Saiyan 4. As for the ritual version, I think that you may have a case here to be made. To create a Super Saiyan God from the ritual, you need 5 righteous Saiyans to pour energy into another. Prior to the fight with Omega Shenron, there was 2 instances of Goku having energy poured into him by Gohan, Trunks, Pan, and Goten. But for the longest time, the 5th Saiyan was lacking, and that was of course until Vegeta appeared. His addition to the power supply fulfilled the 5 righteous Saiyans needing to flow into one, and when they fused together into Gogeta, they became one being. And conveniently enough, his hair is red, which is pretty odd considering that the fusion color is typically a combination of the regular hair colors that they have in the forms prior. This was a first, and I would say it adds to the theory. Of course, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta isn't really a Super Saiyan God, but in a way, he was the first Saiyan who actually achieved a godlike status in the Dragon Ball universe. He's even stated to be above 100-year time skip Goku, who literally transcended into another plane of existence. So he wouldn't be as legendary as Goku or Yamoshi, but a Super Saiyan God in his own right, in a separate story. If we follow this same logic, I feel like there's someone else that deserves to be mentioned in the conversation of the first Super Saiyan God, and that's none other than Goku Black. There's actually quite a few things going for him in this conversation. Firstly, he's the first Saiyan who is actually a god. Being that Kaioshins are deities and inhabiting Goku's body actually makes him a Saiyan. If you pay attention closely, there's many differences between Goku Black and Zamasu. The first being that Goku Black actually enjoys fighting like a Saiyan does. Zamasu, on the other hand, opted for the immortality wish to ensure that he wouldn't need to get stronger. When asking Goku Black about why he didn't make the same wish, the answer is obvious. He wants to get stronger and improve on his own, which is why he took so much pride in his Rose form. And it's through this form that you could argue he became the first Super Saiyan God. Technically, he's a god in a Saiyan's body who used Super Saiyan alongside God Ki. The fact that this form is pink also somewhat attributes to the fact that you can only obtain it while being a deity in a Saiyan's body. There's no clear-cut reason for why it's this color, but I assume it has something to do with Zamasu being fused with Goku. But hey, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below. And until next time, Majin Birds.